Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am proud to bring forth another Cosmonarchy Acropolis number 3 Gauntlet Stage C match. Yes, because that mouthful is how all of it is. You know how it is. It's just all what it is. Anyway, I'm stopping babbling. Sorry, when I read chat messages at the same time as I talk, it immediately makes me say nonsense. Smarty is playing Terran. If you guys didn't know, in Gauntlet Stage C, his last chance to qualify, and of course he changes his race, not from Protoss to Zerg, as he did in Gauntlet Stage B, but from Zerg to Terran. I thought he'd go back to Protoss, personally. But apparently, he's hanging out here. Oh yeah, we have the Shambler. We have the Shambler adminning this series. Looks like there's typing even from the admin, because when you trust Shambler to do anything, he's gonna type. Fair enough. I think Grass Eater's trolling him, though. Which, you know what? Grass Eater trolls me, too, so I don't think it's anything personal. SmrtyCakes is going to be going for double stockade. So that's very early on here. He is in the bottom right of his map pick. He is the upper seed in this series. It'll be near impact to start us off. I'll take a look at the veto in just a moment. But first, I got to guess his color. I feel like it's not Alice Blue, because that's a little bit higher. This is going to be Maya Blue. But it was Neon Blue. Damn, okay. I haven't seen that color in so long, but that's a pretty cool color. Grass Eater in the top left is our Zerg player. He looks like he's forest green. Oh, but it was dark green. I guess forest green is actually even darker. Also, he technically forgot his S. He put a space instead of the S. Even in, he had to deliberately make a separate ID called that. That is just so that if Shambler notices, which I don't think Shambler will notice, that, it tilts him a little bit, because Shambler told him to change his name. Love it. Love it. I mean, like at a certain point, you just get banned. You know what I'm saying? But hey, Grass Eater is not at that point yet, apparently. We're still hanging out here. He's got his borrowed Droleth, and Smarty was on the hunt, but looked away at the wrong second. His scout will see. It is Pool Larvosk, of course, with the second Kagrant already spreading towards the ramp. Not likely to be a Circuit, however, despite its placement. I don't actually know if Grass scouted the second stockade. I think he was kind of held at the pass by the one Maverick. So this is an opportunity where even that Scout Mason could contribute if Smarty wants to do this kind of push. It looks like instead he wants to expand behind it. So this is probably just going to be a feint to make Grass Eater build more combat units in case he is going to get owned. And, he's sort of like denying that larva being used for the workers that it's currently being used for. We can keep him on a worker deficit, then that's one thing. Unfortunately, his Mavericks are kind of split all over the place because they were autopiloting, chasing some Zeths, moving across the map. But this is a good opportunity for him to, posture aggressively. If he had kept the Mason here and built like an anchor or something, that might have been an option, although it's a monetary investment. Maybe if he had a couple of Harakans, he could even try to storm the Quaz push. But, also the other thing to think about is if Grass had tried to take this low ground earlier, that would be more opportunity for Smarty to deal with. So Smarty was kind of doing this like feint while expanding, and Grass is just kind of one base turtling on the ramp until he gets his required worker count. He's like teching while building a lot of eco and just kind of sitting on his Quaz count for now. One Zeth claims a victim in the middle of the map because Smarty wasn't paying too close attention. All right, as the Fulcrum comes out and the Zorka Shroud is halfway complete, it does seem like this will be a passive enough early game. I can talk a little bit about our map veto. Sometimes I wait until after our introductions and go into the second map for it. There's a star pad getting put down here as well. So Near Impact is indeed our first map. Check Stealer vetoed, no surprises there. Blackwater vetoed by Grass Eater. It's kind of an interesting choice. Crisis Vector is his pick, and then if we need a third map this time around, it will be Radium for the Decider, with Kingwa Valley and Mass Destruction also being vetoed. So it's kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting... Mass Destruction as a veto makes sense for Grass Eater if he's just going to veto the 4-spawn maps, right? But it is kind of interesting that, we look at the way that SmrtyCakes is playing this out. He vetoes Kingwa. And so he wants the other 2-spawn maps. He wants Radium over Kingwa. Doesn't look like Serenity was on anybody's mind in this series. So just thinking about some of the 2-spawn maps that people do play. Obviously, no Brainstorm, which we've had a decent amount of Brainstorm recently. I'm not going to be too upset. I don't think we might not be able to cast these matches, but Jujic has also been trying to pick Check Stealer a few times. So I like that as well. That's a cool moment there for the homie. Since I think he wasn't on the stream when I was making those changes to it, but he was interested in what those changes actually looked like. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We got the Lake is moving on forward. This is a pretty scary looking army. If we take stock of what Smarty actually has, he doesn't have a Phalanx out just yet, and one is not going to be enough to hold this back, it feels like. His army is very small. At the very least, he has the Cestus. He can boost his armor against things like the Quaz. I don't think it's going to help him out too much for anything else, though. His Ant Seal was complete. I don't know where it went. I'm now checking to see if it was like flying over the army or something. I saw he made an Ant Seal. Maybe it's just now finished, actually, and that's what I was looking at. But it's not... I mean, the Phalanx is super exposed, right? So as the Hurricanes come out to try to help out a little bit here, that Ant Seal was drained of its energy, and the Cestus will also fall. This is such a scary position to be in. The Mavericks were not skimmed for most of that fight. I think this is it for Smarty, man. I think the timing attack just kind of got him. Now, that being said, his worker count is still super high. He can lift the Ministry to get himself out of here, but it feels like his production is not turning. You know, he's only got 2 Stockade, 1 Fulcrum. This is a little bit too hard for him to actually make anything happen here, it seems like. They're going to gut through all of the Ant Seal shielding, and the Phalanx is not going to be able to help out too much. So for some reason, the Claws were burrowed. I don't know why. But, yeah, getting on top of the production, this Fulcrum not making that whole time, that doesn't help. Looks like maybe one of the Lakes will be brought down by the stimmed Mavs, but there's still 2 more. Reinforcements can be on the way here for Grass Eater. Looks like they're starting to stream across the map, and I mean, as much as he still is up by 6 workers, that is going to start to fall very quickly. And then at that point, it's just going to be GG. So look at that. Grass Eater taking SmrtyCakes' map pick. Not the most, promising showing of SmrtyCakes' Terran. But I also think that, like, that was an interesting build from a theory perspective, that had he had a better defensive setup, either more stockades or, faster Fulcrum maybe. I think really what it was is that he just didn't have enough stockades with any, like, Maverick or Huracan or Cyprian count to hold back against the 1-base Zorkas. But, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, a little bit more familiarity. That kind of strategy could potentially have legs in this matchup. Maybe we'll see somebody try to take that strategy and cook with it a little bit harder on the execution. But hey, we've got one more map at the very least before perhaps Grass Eater supersedes SmrtyCakes. This is what happened in ZVZ in Gauntlet Stage B. Grass 2-0'd Smarty. So we'll see if that ends up happening again with his off race, or if he can start to climb back towards the upper qualification match against the Night Fox. So let's find out. GG. All right, we are on Grass Eater's Dark Green Zerg, by the way, in the top left of Crisis Vector. This is Grass Eater's map pick. SmrtyCakes in the bottom right here as the Ultramarine Terran. So there you go, back at 50% color guess. You know how it is. I'll get to positive. I guess I'll say it'll be 66%, right, if I guess both of them right in the third map, if we even get there, because SmrtyCakes is facing the lower bracket, right? Grass Eater already has series point as a best of 3. So hope you guys are enjoying the Gauntlet Stage C coverage so far. We have a lot of qualifications this time around. I'm certainly well aware that despite the expansion slots for the battlement stages, where we have the ability to do stuff like play through and have 6 groups instead of 4. The Tribunal stage was pretty cool, and it was pretty fast as well. But it does kind of feel like maybe having 3 Gauntlet stages on top of that, it takes longer to qualify to the tournament than it does to play out the whole tournament. You know what I mean? So we're probably going to make some adjustments for Acropolis number 4. In fact, I had a weird dream where I was about to go live for Acropolis number 5. And so that really kind of threw me off today when I woke up and I was like, I got to cast some more Acropolis 3 matches. Like, wait, it's only 3? I thought it was 5? What's happening? So apparently I'm dreaming of the future, and the Escosi are out and you guys are gaming with 4 races and all that cool stuff. So that's the future you can help bring about if you share the videos and like the channel's videos, uploads, subscribe to it, etc. If you want to throw a couple of bucks our way every month, you get some pretty good perks, even for $3 a month on our coffee page. So, I think it was something like, I forget who said it. It was probably Lucy, because he's a A-plus, plugger, right? Always be plugging, that's him. He's A-plus chiller, Chill Saphirius. He was saying at some point, or somebody was saying at some point, that if everybody on the server donated $3 a month, or like half of the people or something like that, then we would be in the promised land already, and I would have a lot more free time to work on the project. He's not wrong. So anyway, if you can afford that kind of thing and you're liking what you're seeing, I highly recommend going there. Even just for the memes, All right, so Zethar are out. It is a mech build here from Smarty. He's going to go ahead and drop in with his Vulture. He finds that last Zethar Core. So denying any scouting intel here because there was no Droleth scout from Grass Eater. Or actually, there could have been, but no, there's only 2 kills. So if there's a 3rd kill there, I'd say, okay, the Droleth was actually killed and I didn't notice it. But I wasn't that zoned out. Oh, okay, it's going to be a Matador drop, it looks like, with the star pad coming out. It's a little bit out of sync. Usually you might go for a round of blackjacks in case there's some kind of drop or airplay. But you know, he pushes his vulture forward. You can see the quads are kind of already a bit more cautious. Zorka's Shroud on the way. Once again, a single base build for the tech. We'll see how that one ends up going. I think this is going to hit a bit faster than Grass Eater is necessarily prepared for. The problem is that the Matadors will be done sooner, the 4 Matadors for the drop. But that's okay, because Smarty can just build blackjacks instead, right? And that's exactly what he's going into. So here we are, as the star pad pops and he puts down another Fulcrum. He's actually not going to have the Vespene for a Trojan just yet, but he'll I'm sure he'll fix that. He actually hasn't been mining with the Ridge, so he's going to have to correct that. A little bit out of sync with the build, but I can see the vision. I can see what he's going for here. In theory, you know, if you get... What I used to like to do is build, like, 4 stockades and double build Hurricanes out of each one of them and then just waypoint them to a star pad that was making Trojans, and I would have, like, Ahmed drops all the time. That was back in the day when the Hurricanes damage from the passive stacked. You could actually drop, like, 8 Hurricanes on a Nexus, and it would tear it down in, like, 10 seconds or something, 15 seconds. It was pretty ridiculous, actually. But, you know, them's were the days. Sometimes I think about, like, maybe there should be a version... there should be, like, a version tournament where everybody backdates to a particular version of the game that was, like, way back when. And, you know, obviously the one problem there is that we've improved stability a lot across versions, so you might have some troubles there. But I think something like that would be pretty funny if people had a cheeky tournament. I would never host it myself, but if somebody else like Biddy B or SmrtyCakes or whomever, people have been talking about a 2v2 tournament, the Sausage Party. I think Godwheat is trying to host that, so big ups to him. So if that ends up happening, it's I mean, that's the dream. 2v2 tournament is the dream. So here's 4 Matadors in the mineral line. It's not much of a dream. It's more like a nightmare. A bunch of workers get roasted immediately and then go after the quads and then go after the workers inside the transport. At this point, he honestly can just kind of focus them down, but it looks like he doesn't want to do that too much here. Instead, he's going to peel off with the Trojans. Interesting stuff. Okay, so with the blackjacks on the way and mass, I feel like he's pretty well insulated. He's already got his ant seal. He's making a couple more, adding a 3rd scrapyard as well. No natural coming out here for Smarty. He's not going to have access to the Ministry anytime soon to expand his production. All right, so with the Vornath on the way, I guess Grass Eater wants the anti-drop, right? He wants to use the Nathicores, but here comes the Matadors yet again. And he has no defenses over here, so he's got to come back in. And he's got to lose, I feel like, the same amount of workers as before. Yeah, he lost a similar amount of workers the first time. And that's just very deadly, especially as a couple of blackjacks are kind of loose over here and just seeing the move out. If I'm SmrtyCakes and I see that move out on the army, I unload the Matadors and kill all these quads with them and then kill the whole base, win the game that way. I don't know if he even recognized that. But, like, you know, you see the army moving out in one direction, you know, maybe there's a chance my Matadors can just finish that off. But, you know, you also want to keep the pressure, maybe even pull them back for the defense if you're a bit concerned. And here's the Cestus on the sort of front lines by the ramp. Should be enough to hold. Again, he's got so many ant seals. I mean, there are Lakes here, but it looks like there's only 3. Oh, there's actually 4. So there's a chance here for Grass Eater to finish it off in this position, but he's not drolling behind this. He's definitely a little bit behind the 8 ball economically. Recovering from the drops has been pretty hard for him. And now we've got 4 more Matadors to rejoin the rest of the army, while most things are struggling here. Now, at the very least, okay, never mind. One of the Lakes just got popped, so it does feel like there's no way to burst that. I don't know that Grass Eater had to be in an all-in position in this spot. Like, I feel like he could have just defended the second drop attempt and, you know, recognized that my opponent has put in a lot of resources to units that aren't necessarily going to be very good at actively attacking me, right? The Matador is not a super good attacking unit. At least in the current meta, people haven't figured out how to use it very well for attacking. Maybe it's possible to do so. But, you know, my opponent, you know, it has the ability to attack me, but not as much as if they had gone for the Fulcrum with the Palladium add-on and invested the money that they invested into the Matador drops into something more offensive. So I can take my expand, I can grab a couple of extra production structures, I can droll up to make it so that their worker harassment is less important, and I'm relatively safe. I don't need to worry about being attacked as much. I can invest in a little bit of static defense, even though that costs me workers, because then I can centralize my army elsewhere if I need to. Or, indeed, because I am a bit more on the safe side, I can you know, entrench myself with just units. But look at that. The Lakes weren't even burrowed, so they get pounced upon immediately, and Smarty looks like he's just going to cruise to victory. He's even got his Cestus here if he needs it, but it's arriving for moral support and intimidation purposes for the overlay. That's the main reason why it's here. GG has to be called. Grass Eater is out of here, or Grass Eater. Mardi Gras Eater is he's gone to Mexico. GG's. Well, with all that said, Smarty now has tied us up, and we will be going to Radium, which is his map pick. So they've traded map picks so far. If we follow the script, that means Grass Eater will find a way to finish it off. But the mech play did look pretty good, the Matador style. I played a little bit against Grass. I know he struggles against drops. I don't actually remember, chronologically speaking, if I played this. I think I played this series against the series of games that I played against him earlier. Before this series. So he already knew to watch out for drops, but looks like he has not yet devised a proper game plan in terms of responding to them after the damage and making sure that they don't get subsequent damage. The second hit really, I think, is what sold Grass down the river, because he just went straight for the attack after. So that's it. We'll go to game 3 now and decide who moves on to face the Night Fox. I thought it was going to be Grass Eater, but maybe Smarty can change my mind. Now we are on Radium. This is where the rubber meets the road decider in this best of 3. I'm just going to quickly take a look at the bracket here, because I actually don't remember whether or not we had too many 3-game best of 3s. It doesn't look like it. Looks like we had one other incident of it in the lower bracket so far. And so, yeah, that kind of makes me feel like, at least in Gauntlet Stage C, the best of 3s have mostly been 2-0s, right? And so that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. If we look at the other Gauntlet stages, the best of 3s, there was a best of 3 on Gauntlet Stage A between Kasuga and Smarty, where Kasuga came out on top. Kasuga had a 2-1 over Grass Eater before that, so he was seriously doing the 3-game best of 3s. We had Shopkeeper Dog 2-1 Hapsea. We had Top Ramen 2-1 Cannoli. So there were a couple more best of 3s that went the distance in Gauntlet Stage A, at least twice as many, since I just counted 4. Yeah, looks like that was it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting stuff. I'm just kind of looking through the history as we see another mech build start up over here. It's going to be Larvos going to pool once again for Grass Eater, so no real surprises there. But yeah, it's interesting to see that so many of these matchups were a little bit more on the one-sided affair. I think we made it through the entirety. Yes, we made it through the entirety of Gauntlet Stage B without a single 3-game best of 3. That is wild. That is wild. In fact, only one of our qualification series went to 4 games. Everything else was a 3-0. So, if Sausage hadn't lost the opening match in his best of 3 to Grass Eater, this would have been the most one-sided bracket possible, because everything would have been 2-0 or 3-0. Anyway, I just think that's kind of interesting to think about. But we finally do get another 5-game set. The first one, chronologically, in Gauntlet Stage C. But not the only one. Not the only one. And maybe we'll cast that other one. I am talking about it, so maybe. Maybe. Double Scrapyard here for our Terran champion. Our banner hand. Our banner holder. SmrtyCakes is trying to fly the flag of the Terrans. I don't know what happened there with the quads that they weren't attacking. Sometimes when, people are right-clicking a lot, they'll, right-click their own unit, and then they'll just stick them there. So, when you follow order, the unit doesn't have its auto-attack anymore. It's just trying to follow. So it's like, basically perpetually move commanding towards the unit, even when it's idle, because that unit isn't moving. Obviously, Blizzard could have probably programmed that a little bit more interestingly, a little bit more intuitively, but they didn't. And so, until we decide to overhaul how that works, it's just going to be something that you got to deal with. Like, in theory, it's probably possible to make them search for nearby targets and otherwise follow. So it's almost like their attack moving towards the position of the unit instead of just moving. The reason why Blizzard probably didn't do that is maybe it was intentional for them to do so. Which is fine. That's acceptable. I have to think a little bit about the ramifications of such a change, if that would even be good, because it might be too much automation. But I'd have to think about it. I think maybe there's not really too much of a concern about it. You see the green line moving towards terrain is different. This guy would eventually get idle, and then, yeah, the line disappears. But if the line was persistent and it was attached to a unit, that's how you would know. They're on the follow order. It's going to be a 4 Matador drop once again for Smarty while I'm talking about game mechanics and issues like that. Grass Eater has a nice little ring of quads, as well as a strong position here on the front, and he is indeed going to go for the Zorka Shroud again. Finishes up in time to give us a smooch. I wouldn't really want a smooch from that thing, though. I always think of it as like a weird flower-looking structure, so I guess that's something. Very much a spooky-looking thing. Asset from 5 Nations. Shout out 5 Nations. Vulture's continuing to poke and prod. A couple of mines get laid down. They're going to be cleared. And just as the army starts to leave the building, Grass hasn't actually noticed it yet. The Vulture's keeping him interested, and now here come the Matadors. Worker Pull is good. This is really a mini-map awareness thing, I feel like. He could have absolutely done something there. I love the drill, accidental or otherwise. Paws are going to get jumped on, though. And that Trojan does not feel like it's going to be able to escape. Oh, maybe it will be. Yeah, I guess it will be. That's kind of wild. Oh, see it. He leaves one for the Wolves. And that's a good move. That would likely have died if he went back to go for the other one. So, cheeky move there. And it's going to be a Palladium. He cancels out the Scrapyard. Stupid Quaz, no notification. Well, he didn't have a notification that he was under attack because the Trojan doesn't attack anything when it comes through. So, he did immediately respond with the Droleths pulling away when the Matadors unloaded and attacked. So I think he did get the notification. He just didn't respond fast enough. At least that's what it looked like to me. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody will have to slow-mo that one. But either way, obviously if you're under attack elsewhere, there's like a brief cooldown before you get the audible notification of that your forces are under attack. Even though you do get the minimap ping, you do get the flashing on the minimap, which feels to me like a really obvious strobe light. There are some players who struggle to, they don't listen for that or look for that. They look for they just wait for the audio to tell them that they're under attack, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's just another quirk of the game that they gotta learn. No big deal there. So, we do indeed have a push out here with the Zorius, the Quaz, the Lakes. I think they got like, what, 3 or 4 kills? Now, admittedly, all of the Matadors, except for one of them, 3 out of 4 of the Matadors were able to survive. There's a 4th one here as well. And the Trojan is fully repaired. 3rd Scrapyard on the way to continue pumping Blackjacks. And it looks like it'll be a Phalanx Blackjack timing attack on 1 base for Smarty. He's also going to be using the Matadors that are already deployed to attack probably the natural by the time he gets over here, since there are all of these workers. But he can set up for a 1-2 punch. Now look at this. The Quaz actually moving through. So it attacked, so Smarty will know that it was attacked, but Grass did not clock that at all. He did not, at least he didn't move his screen over to see what it was. Sometimes you can move, like I don't always move my screen over to see what it is. If I see that it's a flying unit and I already know there's a transport out, I just assume it's a transport. But also sometimes I miss it on the minimap, right? And so the surefire way to tell if somebody looked at it and saw it is, well, they had to actually look at it with their screen, right? So kind of cheeky there. It is going to go ahead and hit just as the move out is about to happen, and Grass will scout that out. But very quick response time here from Grass Eater as the Matadors go ahead and deploy in their siege mode. Lots of armor for them. They're going to get a couple of kills. Oh, here comes all of the Nathracors. Yeah, I don't think that Matador is going to be able to get too much done here. Oh, he deploys, it's going to be even harder for him to actually go down, so he might get a couple of kills. Yeah, that was a little bit lazy there for Grass Eater. He could have pulled the workers away to save himself, but instead a bunch of extra kills, including that one that burned down. Very, very nice. The larvae end up getting busted up, and look at all the Blackjacks. The lake is out of position. Nathracors are just going to get shellacked immediately, so much for them. I was going to say you could save those to dive onto the Antseal. The lake is pocketed off to the side. Do we have any other units coming? 11 Hydras. Feels like it's a little bit late. 3 Zorius as well. Spending down the larva. This feels like Smarty's on the precipice of actually forcing the issue. These are pretty quick games, but lots of pressure being exerted here, and those Quaz are just getting stomped on. The Lakers need to pull back. They absolutely cannot afford to be bruised up and killed before the fight. They are integral here. The Hydras are going to come out, but I don't think there's anything here. There's no meat. Where's the chaff? There's no Zorius. Oh, the Hydras just died. Yeah, Grass Eater was not respecting the Phalanx. Very quick games off the back of Matador drops, but a bit of a different follow-up on each win there for Smarty. His opening gambit with the faster expansion off of the back of the Stockade, which I do think is a cool strat to have. Stockades, you spend less money on military, so you can't afford to get the expand faster. Very nice there from Smarty, but didn't work out for him in the opening match because the follow-up was a bit too strong for the one-base tactic Grass was using, and also pretty safe against any feint that he was going for. So with all that said, I think what we can glean from that is that SmrtyCakes just moved on to face the Night Fox. And it wasn't the strongest showing as his Terran, so I'm not necessarily holding out hope for him in the best of 5. But, you know, I mean, Fox hasn't played in a while. There's a chance that Smarty can make that a competitive set, you know, take a game or what have you. But nonetheless, we're going to need to see some more out of him. So stay tuned. I think what we'll do is we'll cast that one. Neblime and I are going to cast that series and the other upper qualification series that's yet to be determined. I'm guessing it will be Art of Turtle versus Doglived, just based on player strength. But that's what I'm thinking it will be. So we'll cast a couple of best of 5s, and we'll get those out to you guys over the next few days. So subscribe. Stay tuned. I will see you guys very soon for more videos. And congrats to Smarty. Grass Eater falls to the lower bracket. He'll have a chance down there to, once again, push forward to that last chance to qualify. We'll see if he does it. He's going to be up against players that are a little bit, I think he's more favored against. So we'll see. We will see. GG's.